Good evening, campers, streamers, and babysitters, and welcome back to our review of Sugar Rot. Yes, another film from the Fantasia Film Festival. We are currently deep in the roots of all these little independent horror projects. Love this festival. We get to see a lot of weird stuff, a lot of stuff we're not going to get to see for probably a couple of months to maybe even a year from now, depending on how distribution and all that works out. But it is the gamble you take when you run one of these festivals, and you're especially just trying to get as many films as possible, which we like to do. Unfortunately, you also run the risk, like I said, a gamble of running into some movies that you just don't like them. You don't vibe with them. They just ain't your thing. Sugar Rot, I think I can say confidently for both Luke and I, not for us.
Yes, I will second that. This is directed by Becca Kozak, as well as written by her as well. And, I saw the trailer for this when we were doing our picks for Sugar Rot, and I was like, well, it seems like a little bit of a lower budgeted film, which is to be expected. But, some of the acting didn't really hit with me. You could really just feel that what I was hoping this film was not. And it turned out that that's exactly what it was. I was really disengaged with this film probably from the first couple scenes. It just did not hit. It is kind of, I guess you'd say, experimental, if that's a route we want to go down, with certain elements of the storytelling, with the production itself.
I'm gonna say this because I am a fan of Trauma stuff for the most part. I like, a lot of their movies, especially the ones when you're getting back towards the 80s and early 90s, just because like a lot of that stuff is very in your face. It's very different. It's experimental. It's wild. It's gross. It's vulgar. Sugar Rot, that was the impression I got from the trailer. I thought we were going to get something like that, and it is, but it's like in the most mind-numbing and annoying way possible. I don't know what the disconnect is between something like this and like Poultrygeist or Class of Nukem High or even the Toxic Avenger, but like this movie, they made some choices as far as the sound design, just dialogue, how people speak to each other, how they interact with each other. I really thought we were being pranked for probably the first 10 minutes of this movie. And then you realize, oh, okay, this isn't like some kind of, statement or anything weird like that. This is just the movie. And, God, this was a tough watch. I had a hard time getting through this movie. I got a very severe migraine while watching this. And I think that just comes down to the presentation, but also the fact that it's just vulgar and gross for the sake of vulgar and gross. And I'm the dude who watches like fucked up shit on this channel all the time. And even for me, this was just like, just stop. Just let the movie go. Like, end it, please.
The sound design was probably the biggest thing that really jumped out at me within the first few seconds of the film. It just feels like it's chopped up. You have that hissing of when you turn up audio really loud, and I had my headphones on and I was like ready to go with this film, and then it's a constant hissing. That audio levels don't match up with other characters, and sometimes their audio doesn't even match up with their lips, and it is very distracting. I'm totally fine with experimental type of films, but when you have something that distracting, it takes you away from any sort of aspect of the film that you might enjoy, because it's this constant ringing in your ears, and you kind of have to battle with that as you're trying to understand the narrative, which even narratively, there's not that much here. I think they try to. I reviewed, I think it was almost a year ago, that a film called Blue Rose, and everyone kept saying it was billed as like a Lynchian film, and I kind of went on a little rant in there, about a lot of things being called Lynchian, with really just trying to tell this experimental tale, and it feels forced. And I think Sugar Rot to me felt forced. It felt like we're specifically trying to do this for the sake of doing it so people will talk about it, rather than having an idea and saying, what's the best way to approach this, and that's how I'm going to do it, so that an audience can take something away from it. It felt like this was too focused on being experimental for us to really take away any sort of message from it.
To me it feels like, and I don't mean any disrespect by this. I understand Luke informed me that the director, Becca Kozak, and writer here is a YouTuber, so I'm not going to sit here and get on my high horse and say that she's probably going to watch this review, but if she does, I mean, no disrespect, but it's just one of those things to me where this movie feels like somebody who watched a bunch of trailers for trauma movies or other exploitation stuff, that we've had over the years, or even stuff that's like mimicking exploitation, and they were just like, that's everything, we're gonna just take that and we're gonna run with it, and they don't really dive into any elements to really keep the story interesting, or keep the characters interesting. People are just very insufferable, and they make it almost feels like they're on purposely like trying to make them unlikable. And if you watch like trauma movies and stuff like that, there's a ton of unlikable characters. There's gross, disgusting, terrible people in there, but there's usually a core or an anchor of some sort. We don't have an anchor here. We don't have anybody to flow through this. We are literally just going from depraved, over the top, gratuitous sex, gross people eating candy on top of each other, and weird body horror shit that isn't even like exciting body horror. It's just kind of disgusting after a while. And it feels like bubblegum pop vomit. Like that's just the best way I can put it. And it's strange. It's strange, and I certainly don't think this is for me at all. This whole whatever they're doing, this is their style. Good Lord, run with it, do your thing. I hope that the fans who love it eat it up and support it, because you need to, because this is not going to hit with general audiences, and this is not going to hit with even, I think, some of the more hardcore horror fans that we know.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble connecting with this film. I think a lot of people will, but hey, maybe I'm not the audience for it. Maybe there's an audience out there that will take something away from it. I was excited about the body horror elements getting into the film, but I don't think those even hit in terms of what we do get. I think there's just not enough of it, and I don't think it's as well done as I really wanted it to. I liked, the opening credits. I was like, oh, okay, this is a fun little like play on candy and things like that. And I thought maybe I was going to be set in for something a lot of fun, but it does take a toll on you as you're watching this. They go into some very testy subject matter that I didn't know that the story was about. And when you get into those elements of it, I said, oh, I remember making a note. I didn't know it was that kind of film as what we were getting into. And, I'm not against exploitation films. I think there are some really well done exploitation films out there. This one just did not hit with me. I don't think the messaging was there. The elements of horror weren't there for me. And a lot of the production choices were just very questionable. And character work, I mean, the acting overall was not very well done. And the characters that were written, like you said, were all pretty much unlikable with no really redeeming qualities. So I didn't feel connected into the story to see what was going to happen next or how we were going to get to a resolution. I'll be honest, it was a film I kept checking the runtime to see how much more I had left to continue through the film. But, and even then we think maybe it would at least fly by. The pacing on this for me was really slow just because I was not hitting with me any sort of narrative.
Yeah, and this is one of those ones I would compare this to, a film that I saw a couple years ago, but I actually liked, was T Blockers. Very similar in style, I would say, but they know how to add that little bit of polish, and again, they don't go absolutely bonkers nuts with the sound design and the scary stuff. They at least understand that people have to watch the movie for an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's kind of like, I don't know. The last thing I'll say on this, and then I'll get into rating. But like, this really does feel like when I was a kid and I was experimenting with like Windows Movie Maker, and I would find a really cool effect or something like that, and I would immediately think, "Ooh, I like this. I have to make an entire short film or movie about this one effect." Really feels like that's what they thought they were doing, and that's what I mean by, it's like they kind of like saw a bunch of trailers, saw a bunch of posters and memorabilia for like trauma stuff, and we're like, I like that. Now I need to make something that is exactly that, without truly sitting down and understanding why people like those movies and why they work and why they're still disgusting classics. Uh, Slash it. That's what it is. I'm sorry. I think that it's just, I'm being completely honest. I don't think I could recommend this to anybody. And again, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just saying, like, I I don't know anybody who would enjoy this like to the max. Maybe people would find it funny, but like it's just too hard to get through.
Exactly. I think this one was a really rough watch to take anything away from it. You know, I didn't even find the horror elements enjoyable, where sometimes you're really open to the horror elements of it just because it's like, oh, well, even some of the classics are lower budgeted films. And it's like, well, at least they propose something interesting and something memorable. I think this one, there's testy subject matter that it felt just mentally exhausting to a point, and I think even the horror elements here and effects wise, it felt mentally exhausting. So I'm gonna have to go with slash it as well. It just did not hit on any level for me. Production choices were such a distracting element of this film that really took me out of it from the very beginning, and didn't get any better when we got introduced to characters or situations and what the overall arcing story was. So this one just didn't hit. Maybe there is an audience out there that is eagerly anticipating Sugar Rod. I'm not sure, but I don't think either of us are that audience.
Unfortunately not. And you know, all I can say to the creatives here, they have a lot of projects. They even have another movie on the way. You know, they're out there doing it, and I give them respect for that. You guys are out there trying something. You're doing it. I can see it's a lot of the same people, cast, crew, everything. Keep going, keep doing your thing. I'm sure you'll find an audience out there. I wouldn't even say that I'm opposed to seeing what more you guys can do. I just, if it's in the same vein or genre as this, I'll probably pass on it, just to be honest. But hey, if you're into really avant-garde, very strange, very extreme, disgusting, like I said, a pop vomit movie, you might like it. Maybe. I don't know. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on this. This was clearly just not one for either Luke or myself. But hey, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. So with all that said and done, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the horror shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna smash your ass.